Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Praino. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host, Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Praino.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning.
Morning.
We got through week one, Joe.
We did it. Not all the way, though. We got one more game. My Jets play tonight.
That's right.
My New York Jets. You know, all of us Jets-Mets fans. Oh, we're excited for tonight.
You're turning the corner, huh? You're officially a Jets guy.
Yeah, man. Born and raised. Shea Stadium, Jets, Mets. Let's go. My boy Aaron Rodgers.
What is your mental state? I was obviously watching the game last night.
I'm excited for my team to play tonight.
I was wondering how you were feeling during that game last night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, NFC East, you know, that's the other side of the conference. I'll worry about those teams if they meet me and my Jets in the Super Bowl.
That's all it took, 1 week?
I don't know what you're talking about, Andy.
Cut the crap, Praino. Let's get
Free
to
Pac-Man Jones. I have a couple things before we get into all the stuff. I have a couple things I want to get out of the way. First of all, we got a message from a DirtBall saying that the Dirty Sports Podcast, thousandth episode podcast and Joe Praino Show bundle is sold out. I have a call into our folks at Comedy House New Orleans to see if that is actually the case. As I said in the message back to Andrew Horn, if it is, it's great news for us. But I would be surprised if that wasn't a mistake, but it could be, because I know we were planning on doing a limited number. That being said, if you buy a ticket to the Dirty Sports Podcast and a separate one to one of the stand-up shows, it's $40 total. It's $10 more. You don't get the $10 discount. But in the meantime, while things are being sorted out, if you're coming to the podcast, you should get those tickets one way or the other. You want to hold off on the show stuff, whatever. But like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like I said this from out of the gate. I said, if you want the bundle, get them early.
Yeah, and you said it is a smaller venue, so
it is a smaller venue. Don't get shut out of the podcast. There's 2 shows, but don't get shut out of the podcast.
Yeah, 2 stand-up shows
for $10. Don't get shut out, or for $5 really, if you're, just the show. For $5, but don't get shut out of the podcast. So if you're coming down to New Orleans, I've heard a lot of dirtballs saying they're bringing their girlfriends or their wives. I love this.
I've seen that.
A dirty sports couples. I think everybody was coming. I think the girls were coming to hopes to be in Brittany's wedding party, but you've let us all down in that regard.
Sorry.
So now some other dirtball's gonna have to get married.
Maybe I'll just bring Isla. Leave Brittany at home. She can make a dirty sports debut. She can make her plane debut.
How was I saw your pictures of Isla watching the games. I saw a lot of negative reviews about the YouTube situation, but you are on the other side of the coin. You are saying you had an overwhelmingly positive review.
Not a single problem, Ben. Not a single problem.
Really? All and the dialing in your games, it's all pretty straightforward.
I don't know why anybody's leaving a negative review if you're coming from...
the first couple things I saw, and I saw that from some folks here, was some streaming lag, some choppiness to the games.
I had none of that.
Okay.
So the old system for me who does not have DirecTV, who always had YouTube TV, the old system was you log on to your Sunday Ticket app, not even app, login, and then I have to cast my computer to the screen. That's not an efficient system.
Well, there was a if you had like I had DirecTV, I had the DirecTV, I had the Sunday Ticket app, via Roku or via Apple or via Apple TV, via Fire Stick. There was an app.
Yeah, but that's if you were using someone else's DirecTV.
Oh, you were saying you were just doing streaming only.
Because
streaming only version.
Because I don't have DirecTV.
Right.
So the old version I'm casting, and this is important. It's what I was trying to explain in a tweet back to somebody, and I don't know if it made sense. In the old version, Sunday Ticket, DirecTV Sunday Ticket standalone streaming app let you split 4 games on one screen. That's it. You could not use a second TV to split 4 more games. That's a problem. Yesterday, 8 games at 1 p.m. YouTube TV is completely different. On top of that, the local games were blacked out under Sunday Ticket.
Right.
You have YouTube TV.
Now, this is a thing, too. You also have to have YouTube TV and the YouTube TV Sunday Ticket.
Correct.
Otherwise, you would be then going back and forth like some people used to do, like I used to do, where it was like I would have to have my antenna going for the local game, and then I have my streaming DirecTV on the other one. So if somebody has cable and then they bought the YouTube TV, just the football package, they would still have to be going through 2 different things.
Sure. So for me, who does have YouTube TV and the Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV, no more blackouts of the local game. So I didn't have to do the Bengals game standalone. Last year I'd have the Bengals game standalone on its side on one TV, and the other TV I have 4 games. Yesterday I had the Bengals game split with 3 other games. My second TV has the 4 other games. So I had 8 games at once.
So was that your setup? You had 2 TVs, 4 game splits on both? You had no primary like viewing TV. You were exclusively watching things on 4 game boxes?
There's 8 games at 1 p.m. I went hard. 8 games at once. Now, I picked and chose which games I was watching closer.
Right.
Full disclosure to everybody listening. I didn't pay too much attention to Saints Raiders.
I saw that on the rundown. I read the rundown today, by the way.
Okay. Good job.
Like I should get, I don't know. I feel like for the month, maybe I should get a bump in pay or something like that. But I did notice on the rundown you said didn't pay, seemed uneventful. I disagree. It was a great game.
Okay, so Saints
good
Titans.
Defenses.
So Saints Titans I did not watch too much of. And Commanders Cardinals.
Well, that one was fine. You didn't miss a whole lot.
Now the other games I'm watching a lot of, right? So I'm watching a lot of the of course the Bengals Browns, I enjoyed the Jacksonville Indianapolis game. I was curious about Bryce Young, so I was paying a lot of attention to Carolina, Atlanta. Anyway, I was watching the other games, and of course, it was a lot easier at 4 p.m. because I had the Dolphins Chargers on one TV and the other TV splitting the other 4.
So I'll tell you my setup for yesterday, just because this will be interesting because I'm actually confused as to how I'm going to handle this season. I still have not made that decision yet. This is basically a call to action to my brother to either get YouTube TV or a call to action to Andy Ruther to share his password with me. But yesterday, because Giants were on prime time, I didn't really have to worry about any sort of potential Giants blackout situation. So I knew going into the day that I was like, the most important game would be fine. That I had Giants primetime game, Giants being my second team. And then my first team, the Jets, would be a Monday Night Football. So I had that tonight. I didn't have to worry about that. The local games in New York, because I'm using my brother's DirecTV login, the local games in New York were Pittsburgh Niners and Cincinnati Cleveland in the early games. I actually don't know what there were in the late games. I think Philly, New England was, but I knew I was going to a bar for the afternoon game. So I was like, those morning games, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Cleveland, Cincinnati, those are kind of the games I want to watch anyway. Plus I had Red Zone. So I was like, I kind of feel like I have my bases covered. But that's obviously not going to be the case from week to week. From some weeks, if I run this same system, I might be in trouble. But one of my buddies texted me in the middle of the day. He's like, fuck this YouTube TV thing. And I was like, oh, is it bad? And he was like, yeah. And then you had a glowing review. So now I'm like,
well, this is my thing to anybody, and I'll just say it. In the age of streaming versus cable, why would you just not have YouTube TV as your cable? I don't get it. At this point, it's $70 a month. It might not be the quote unquote cheapest. It's been nothing but good to me. And it's like the dirtball who responded to my glowing review. Like, I'll just say it, like, I'm a stand for Google stuff. Like, it's Google, guys. Like, what? I'm not trying to, like, you know, be one of those stand boys on some of this stuff, but like, it's Google. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, what's the issue? Like, what are Google products that have really let you down?
I had YouTube TV via my ex at our old place, unlimited DVR essentially.
Yes.
Things that you like, Google does a good job of guessing what you're into and having that like stockpiled on DVR as well. So I liked that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I had a system at one point where I had that in addition to all the things I had via my brother's cable, via all the logins I have. So stuff. This is the first. Yesterday was the first game I haven't had Sunday Ticket in I don't know how long. It played out fine yesterday, but I'm worried about how it's going forward. And I was talking about it. Somebody was like, "Well, did you consider getting?" I was like, "Well, Ruther." When we did we had to call a basketball game together. I was like, he shared his with me, and I had it for a minute, and then the second the final buzzer went off, he took me off of the share list. So I was like, I got to figure out what's going on here. I got to figure out if this is going to be a Mikey share situation, a Ruther share situation, or am I actually going to have to pay for something for once?
We'll talk.
The game was kind of a blow. I think Andy pulled it like late in the fourth quarter. He's like, he'll be fine. He can. We're just
now, this is a good question, though. I know you can use unlimited TVs for the Sunday Ticket. I don't know if that works if I share it, if we use your Gmail.
Right.
We'll find out. Let's test it out.
Sure. Test it.
We'll find out. But look, again, I can see what you're saying, why somebody would be upset. But again, my response is, dude, why are you having Spectrum? Why are you having Charter? Like, it's 2023. Anybody listening? I just don't know why you wouldn't have YouTube TV. Take Sunday Ticket out of it. Like you said, unlimited DVR, which is really not, it's just in the cloud. I just don't get why you wouldn't do it.
I think the one thing we're still missing from streaming, and this is something that somebody's going to have to sort out. Obviously, between apps, it's going to be difficult to do. Like switching from an app to an app very quickly is always going to be difficult to do. There's got to be a way. I know all these things now, like you basically don't have any numbers on your buttons anymore. So you always have to scroll. So it's like, there's got to be a last button. I need a last button. I need to be able to go between two live things at once.
Well, that's fair.
Click back and forth.
That's fair. The last button was clutch. You're right. That's fair.
But when you have all the screens on one screen, you don't really need it. But for me, I was using DirecTV streaming yesterday, and I was essentially switching back and forth between two games, and then I had a red zone on the side TV. So it worked out pretty well yesterday, but
and like I've said before,
I'm just Archie Manninging right now. I'm just scrambling to try to get answers.
Well, what's great about YouTube TV, it's not just Sunday Ticket now. So I can pull up on any given college football day or whatever it is. Any Sunday now, I can watch 4 games at once. That's a pretty awesome feature that you have not been able to use in the past. So
now, can you just basically make a 4-screen thing out of anything? Like, could you do 3 college football games in the fucking evening news?
No, and they pick, but they give you so many variations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, there's a million college games on. They're going to give you.
Oh, you're not picking what goes in each box. They're just giving you a version
on the home screen. They'll give you a version. That's what they're doing yesterday of football. And I was like, I think it was maybe just 2 versions, but here's what's cool too. With your controller, you can scroll around the 4 screens, and then and that's how it decides the volume, which volume you're
Right.
choosing. You just click on the one. Let's say like you're saying, Joe, like, oh, I want to watch, these other 3 games are trash. I want to focus on this one. Then you just click,
and it goes big.
and then that one goes big.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, here's the equivalent to me. It's like Sunday Ticket was a 1988 Honda Accord, and YouTube TV is like a Tesla. It's just like you're stuck back in the Ice Age here, or you're doing fucking Morse code and somebody else has an iPhone. It's like, what are we doing here? And I understand what that person is saying. Switching back and forth would suck, but it was the same way for DirecTV. I had to deal with that already.
Right.
Anyway, we talked a lot about that. I'll just say I'm obviously a fan of it. I was more impressed with YouTube TV than I was with the first week of NFL football.
Okay. Good transition.
I think there was a lot of
sloppy
play and teams not ready to play football.
Well, I think that we're now at a thing, and I've been somebody who says this is don't play your starters in the preseason because they can get hurt and then you're whatever. But like there has to be some sort of balance between that and being ready to play week 1, because in the NFL now, every week, like you lose a couple games. It's very rare. I mean, I know the Bengals did it last year. It's happened more and more, especially now with the 17-game schedule. But there was a time where you lose your first 2 games, you're essentially out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
there was a time. Now that's going to be probably a statistic that's more like 3 out of your first 4 or something like that as as we get expanded. But especially with some of these younger quarterbacks, to not give them reps, I'm for it. Protect your guys, but there has to be some balance, because if you just show up not ready to play and get your ass kicked, what the fuck did it matter if you were healthy or not?
Yeah, look, I know there's going to be a lot of overreactions week 1, but
the Lions to the Super Bowl.
But see, my point, and we'll get to that game. We have it's funny. We have so many calls from that game. My thing is this. You brought up the Bengals, which is a prime example. They start 0-2 last year. Would they reel off 9 in a row to end the season?
Yeah.
First of all, that's not going to happen this year. I'm just saying, you're not going to win 9 in a row to end the season 2 years in a row. Also, those first 2 games, it's about playoff seeding now, guys. You can't take 2 games to get quote unquote warmed up, or 3 games to get warmed up, because guess what? That might be the game where you're hosting versus being a road team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. So I get your point. And I'm also not one of those people. Our boy Randy Ruther, was texting me saying it's because Zach Taylor is sitting the players. And I said, I do disagree. Like, I don't think the Bengals.
When was he texting you that?
During the game.
Okay.
And it's like,
because I know he wasn't texting you after the game, or maybe today, because I saw Randy for the afternoon games. I saw the human body that was once Randy Ruther for the afternoon games. I don't know if Randy saw me. I'll just say that. I don't know if Randy Ruther recalls that I showed up to the bar to meet him for the afternoon games.
Was he in the Hushmanzada jersey?
Yes. I talked to him yesterday. He texted me. I texted him in the morning. I was like, what are you up to? He was like, Thunderbird. I was like, cool. You going to be there all day? He's like, I'm going to be here all day. I was like, okay. Then he called me. I think it was halftime of the Bengals game. And I was like, bro, I'm watching these first games at home. I'm going to come there for the afternoon games. It's perfect. Smaller number of games for the bar's got a lot of TVs, but it's like when you have 8 games on, it's just too much to be in a bar. So I was like, I'll come for the late things, and then we'll hang out, and then I'll come back home, watch the Giants Cowboys game on my own. I got there to 8 minutes, and he's like, I got to go home. I'm going to sleep. I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, obviously he was probably going hard after watching that attempt at football.
Yeah.
And so he did text me about that, and I'm not blaming that. That game was ugly. So it was ugly from both sides. Obviously,
Yeah,
it was way
there was a
more
lot of ugly from both sides games yesterday.
Yeah, and obviously it was way more ugly from the Bengals. Here's what I'll say, though. I didn't think about this until yesterday. Joe Burrow signs this contract since our last episode. He's now the richest or highest contract in NFL history, $275 million, $219 million guaranteed, which still isn't as much as Deshaun Watson, which is hilarious, but slightly more than Justin Herbert, right? So $219 million is guaranteed to Joe Burrow. Here's the thing. He's been making what, 8 to 10 million a year? I don't even know what he's been making a year. Probably around that range. There is pressure now, guys. And I'm not saying Burrow can't handle it because I think Burrow is great. We all know what I think about Burrow. But I'm sure you're going to agree with me, right, Joe? There is pressure. You have to win a Super Bowl.
Well,
my point is, yes, that's the bar for the Bengals right now. That's the bar for Joe Burrow.
Well, absolutely. But that's the bar for everybody in a sense. But when you sign the deal, it's whether you like it or not, whether everybody thinks that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. There's very few people, and I would say Tom Brady, but probably not very early on in his career. Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Rodgers maybe got there at one point, but it didn't last all that long. Where when you get this money, it comes with some sort of animosity from guys on your team who haven't gotten paid, from guys on your team who think they might get let go because they've got to.
You really think that?
Yeah.
I don't think there's animosity to anybody on the Bengals about.
I don't think it's a matter of animosity toward Joe Burrow in particular. I think it's an animosity toward the franchise where people go, "Oh, I see. I get it. I know. I see where I stand here. You took care of him." I mean, that there's no doubt about it. I mean, we've heard that from the Legion of Boom, right? Especially at the quarterback position, because you get treated differently. When you're on the practice field, you're literally the only guy that's not in uniform. You're the guy that's in red. Sure. You're a protected class. I'm not saying it comes with animosity. They're like, fuck Joe Burrow. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it sets the tone of we're all in on this guy. This is the thing we got to do. And you start thinking, if I haven't gotten paid, am I getting paid? The window becomes forget winning a Super Bowl. You have to be really, really good this year because now you're committed to him. And if you don't win the Super Bowl, or if you don't go to the AFC Championship game this year, or if you don't feel like you're right there, then people start going, okay, what do we have to do to get over the hump?
Yeah.
And that is going to be at the expense of potentially everybody but Joe Burrow.
Well, it is an interesting conversation.
And that's what's going on with the quarterbacks everywhere now.
That's what I'm saying. And we have it. We've been having it for years. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm talking the recent last 4 or 5 years. I'm not talking about the Peyton Manning era, the Tom Brady, the Aaron Rodgers. What QBs off the top of your head, besides Patrick Mahomes, besides the name Patrick Mahomes, what single QB got a mega deal and won a Super Bowl? That's an interesting question. And I'm not talking about a short-term deal. I'm not talking about more of a Peyton Manning on the Broncos. I'm talking a Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, you name it, Jalen Hurts type deal, including Aaron Rodgers. What QB has had a major deal besides Patrick Mahomes that's won a Super Bowl? I don't think there is one. It's kind of interesting if you think about it.
Yeah.
Is that the kiss of death for a franchise?
Well, now, if you look at the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs, obviously his security blanket in Kelsey was out. But when you look at a team that is entirely built around their offense, we talked about it last week with Steve Spagnuolo and what he's become, his signature thing has become taking sort of loose parts and putting together a defense good enough to win when you have a great offense. Tyreek Hill had the best game in football yesterday. No doubt about it. He was on the Chiefs. Like, it's crazy, but like they solely, the only reason they let him go was finances. That's it. And it was essentially solely let go because on an offense, they said, we're going to pay Patrick Mahomes and then we're going to pay Travis Kelce. There's not cap space to pay all three guys.
Sure.
We have to. They're at a point right now where their best defensive player is holding out for money.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's only so much money to go around. And obviously that's what's going to happen in Cincinnati. And I don't know if you see in reports, they're saying T. Higgins is nowhere near. And I didn't expect him to be anyway. Nowhere near a deal. They're going to sign Burrow and they're going to sign Chase. It's the same way they're going to sign Mahomes and Kelce, and Hill's gone and Higgins will be gone. But
and listen, let me say something right now about the Cincinnati Bengals financial situation. If Chase and Burrow didn't play together at LSU, I'd almost say sign Higgins today and let Jamar Chase go. Because T. Higgins is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But he's not going to command that same sort of money. Now, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase obviously have a specific connection that goes back to college and whatever. But I'm just saying, this is what we're talking about with the Chiefs. Like, you can't choose both. Do you necessarily want to choose the one that's going to cost you more?
I mean, you are playing a game. You know, it's a projection game with a franchise. You're right. So the actual game, I've never seen Burrow look like that, play like that. I think this much. I think he's still hurt. He looked timid. He looked never like I've ever seen before. And I think all these things factor in. I think the Bengals and Burrow, and I think this is Burrow's idea, to release that contract during the Chiefs game, it's a total troll move. It's also a risky move, like I talked about with pressure. I've seen a lot of speculation saying, was this deal done for a while? And you're going to do this right before the season starts? Like, you got to play well. And I'm not saying hit the panic button, no way. But if they lose to Baltimore, I'm going to say this right now, Bengals fans. I know they started 0-2 last year, but this isn't last year. You know why? They lost both those first two games on game-ending, expiring field goals, right? They got their ass kicked yesterday. They were never in that game. They got the Ravens at home this week. My buddy invited me. I don't know if I'm going to go. But my point is, Joe, you know this. The AFC North, I would argue.
Why would you not go?
I don't know.
You love that fucking YouTube TV, bro. This dude's got his 8-game box set up.
I kind of liked it. You know, the girl, I had my little girl with me. She slept a lot. Like, it worked out well. But I think you'd agree with me, right? You lose that home game to the Ravens, and you know it's going to be a dogfight. Because Ravens D is going to be playing. Dude, you start 0-2, I'm going to say it right now. The Bengals are going to struggle to make the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying they won't make it. I just think you're going to be on that 9-10 game cusp if you go 0-2. But
I mean, listen, we're going to talk plenty about the Bengals on this podcast over the next 4 months or whatever. The Browns.
Can we talk about them?
Played fantastic.
Yes.
I think that the thing to consider with the Browns is just like, dude, Deshaun Watson looked great.
You thought he looked great.
I thought he looked great in terms of compared to the rest of the week 1 quarterbacks.
Interesting.
He comes out, he's moving really well. I didn't see him missing. Like, he
missed some throws, dude.
Yeah, but he missed a bunch of throws last year where you're like, dude, you're just like not ever going to be good again.
Interesting, because I felt yesterday that he missed. I didn't think he looked great. I thought mobility was great, and I thought
mobility was great, but he was throwing some balls on the run.
You're right. And it's pouring down rain.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to Joe Burrow, he looked great. That's for sure.
Yeah.
In a tough game, in a division game with 2 good defenses in the rain, he looked better than he looked at his driest, hottest, like, peak last year. And I think that's the issue with the Browns is they gave him all this money. But there was a time where maybe not the money they gave him and the way they gave it to him, but there was a time where like there was no doubt about it that Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If he gets back, if he's a top 8 quarterback in the NFL, if he's a top quarter of the league, then the Browns, like, because if Deshaun Watson's like good, I still think the Browns are like, whatever. The Browns are the Browns. It's a tough division. I don't see them competing. But if he's good, if he's an elite quarterback again, then you have a game changer. I still don't think maybe they necessarily have enough weapons. Obviously, their running game's really good. Their defense played great yesterday. That division's going to beat each other up.
It is. We all know I was riding high. I said the Browns are going to make the playoffs. And I felt that way. Now, here's another thing to consider before, anybody says the Bengals are done and the Browns are winning that division. They've just had the Bengals number. Burrow's 1-5 against them. The Bengals haven't won a game in Cleveland since 2017. That's why I picked the Browns to straight up win the game. I just know they match up against that Bengals team so well. And that's why they've won 5 of the last 6 games. But like you said, that division, I'd argue that's the best, most competitive division 1 through 4 with the 4 teams across the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Like I could see all 4 of those teams making the playoffs. I couldn't say that about the AFC West because a lot of people want to go AFC West or NFC East. I think you're right. Those teams are going to beat each other up. Now, those quarterbacks, again, I didn't.
Maybe the AFC East is right in there as well. I mean, the Patriots are pretty good yesterday. Yeah.
I'm actually meant to say them. But I don't know. It's going to be fun. Now, to kind of move along in that division, they didn't let Lamar cook. I don't know if you saw. And it's funny. It's funny because everybody's saying, let Lamar cook, let Lamar cook. He threw 20. This is standard classic Ravens with him, right? 22 passes, 169 yards, 0 touchdown passes, 1 interception.
Here is something that you have to remember. Let so-and-so cook. This started with Russ. Let Russ cook. There's a lot of teams with a lot of coaches that can be pressured into doing certain things. John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Pete Carroll is one of the best coaches in the NFL. No one gives a fuck about your Reddit board. No one gives a fuck about your hashtags. You guys say Schottenheimer and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And the offensive line, he doesn't have fucking weapons. Pete Carroll was like, we're never letting Russ cook. We're just not doing it. The end. We might let it go this game, that game. What you guys want, the 60 fucking Russ passes, is never happening in Seattle. Get the fuck out of here. John Harbaugh is essentially the same fucking thing. I know what wins us football games. The dude won the MVP a couple years ago. No one gives a shit what you think. Guy on YouTube, guy on TikTok, guy on fucking Twitter, guy on Reddit. No one cares what at L Jackson Stan 2023 thinks. You don't know as much football as John Harbaugh. He's not going to let him cook.
So you don't think they open it up more at all?
Opening it up more, and the guys who think Lamar Jackson, the key to success for the Ravens is letting Lamar Jackson throw the ball 45 times. No, I don't.
Yeah. No, and I agree. If they're smart, it's like yesterday. We're going to grind you out. Our team gives up 3 field goals.
Dobbins hurt, ACL torn, out for the year.
Which is terrible. We're going against a rookie quarterback. And I mean, look at the stats though. But Joe, nothing's changed. Who led the Ravens in rushing yards yesterday? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Now, that was only 38, and they spread the wealth across the board. But my point is, he still was the leading rusher, which again circles back to what you and I have always said. If Lamar is consistently your leading rusher, he's more injury prone. So it's kind of
also, if you need your quarterback to run to win, you are not a Super Bowl contender. In my opinion.
I agree.
You need him to run to win.
I agree.
You look at that Chiefs-Lions game, man. They got to the point in that Chiefs-Lions game, he didn't have Kelsey. He didn't have a security blanket. Mahomes is great at taking off, but it's week 1. I almost rather you don't take off.
Yeah. Is that the biggest win in Lions history? Not even joking.
100%.
Not even close. 100%.
And I went back and forth with a Lions fan on Twitter the other day. And this is not directed at him in general. This is directed at fans of all teams everywhere. His complaint to me, even though he has a long Twitter history of shitting on Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, I don't know why he's coming at me for not liking either of those guys. That's neither here nor there. He was like, your podcast's obsession with shitting on this team is solely based on the fans and not the team itself. First of all, I want to talk about 2 things. One, I'm a Giants fan. Ruther's like a fucking Bengals, Seahawks, Pats, whatever fan. But even with like Ruther's 5 teams, like there's 31 teams that I don't root for, guys. I don't hate your team. I hate the Eagles. I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Washington Commanders slightly less because they've been a fucking dumpster fire franchise. I don't hate your franchise. And this is why I've always said the Joe Buck criticism for all the years, Joe Buck doesn't hate your franchise either. He doesn't care. You guys are so up your own asses that if anybody criticizes your team, they're out to get you. That you hate us. So let me get this straight. I hate the fucking Vikings. I hate the Lions. I hate the Broncos. I hate the fucking Patriots. I hate the Bucks. I hate that. Like, dude, I literally don't give a fuck about your team. Now, the second part of this is when I dislike a team, when you accuse me of saying it's all because of our fans, guess what? It's always because of the fans. You think I give a single shit as an NFC East guy about the Patriots? I hated the Patriots for years because they cheated and you guys pretended they didn't. I love the city of Seattle. I've always thought the Seattle Seahawks have fucking cool uniforms, a great crowd, all this stuff. Like Sean Alexander back in the day, they gave Rice a home at the end of his career. I hated the Seahawks because you guys refused to admit Russell Wilson was overrated, and you would be in my mentions every fucking week. You think I give a fuck about the Minnesota Vikings? I don't care. But you Kirk Cousins defenders have you again one of the most overrated players in the history of the league, and you guys never fucking stop. Pull up the guy's fucking comment from last week. You guys are blowing it in the NFC North. It's going to be Viking. Yeah, where is that? You lost to the fucking Bucks.
At home.
Okay? It's always because of the fans. You only hate the Lions because they're fans. I only hate everybody because they're fans. You think Jalen Hurts wanted to go to Philadelphia and for his first season when he wasn't good, get called the N-word? You think he wanted that? I don't hate Jalen Hurts. I hate Eagles fans. It's always because of the fans. You don't want to get on board with this Lions team because of the fans. Yeah, you're right. That's why I hate every fucking team. I'm from New York City. You know why I hate the Yankees? Because they're fucking fans, dude. 27 rings. I don't give a shit about the Brooklyn Nets. I don't even give a shit about the New York Jets. I don't give a shit about the Islanders or the whatever. The only team I hate in New York is the one with the most obnoxious fans in baseball. It's always because of the fans, dude. Yeah, I am rooting against the Lions because their fan base is delusional. You won week 1. That's what happened.
I think I'm to the point with NFL fans in general. You guys are all soft, man. You are. Like, and you basically said that without saying it. Like, you guys are soft. You guys are soft. You guys are so soft that you couldn't handle a subtle dig from a chili account about another local chili that Bengals fans were all over the Gold Star Twitter yesterday for a subtle jab at what I've said about the Skyline curse, and now they have Skyline. People were literally calling for a deletion of a tweet. Guys, people were calling for a deletion or a delete. Me to delete a tweet that said, "We know what you're thinking, but we're not going to say it." Closed mouth emoji. People
That's
were like,
all said.
I wrote, "We know what you're thinking, but we're not going to say it." If you go through that and you look at, it's insane. Dude, people were like, "I'm never going to your restaurant again." People were saying crazy stuff. Now, granted, I love the women I work for at Gold Star, and they give me creative freedom, and they know that like people are crazy, but it's like that's a diss at Skyline. That's not a diss at the Bengals. Literally, Gold Star just worked with the Joe Burrow Foundation the day before. It's like fans, like you said, they're just soft. You guys are. It doesn't matter whether you're a Lions fan, a Bengals fan, a Ravens fan. You guys are all soft, and nobody can look in the mirror and say, "Here is a valid assessment of my team." And look, the Lions, to their credit, played a great game. And that's a huge win. That's why I asked, is this their biggest win?
Yeah.
I had no clue until today. You know the Lions have won one playoff game in the Super Bowl era?
Yes.
I didn't know that. It was one.
Yeah.
It's been that atrocious of a franchise.
Yeah.
But Dan Campbell did call in to talk shit to you.
See? I knew he would.
Let's hear from Dan.
Dirty Sports. The NFL's back, and so am I. Dan Campbell. This calls for Joe Praino, man. You got some crow to eat, man, or lion, or whatever you want to do. You got to eat some kind of an animal, man. And tell me you're wrong. All I heard, I played it in the locker room for the guys. Oh, Mahomes is going to have 3 touchdowns, all this, all that. Well, guess what? That ain't worth shit. We beat them by a point, man. I don't know. No defense. Seemed like we did what it had to take to get this job done, man. All right? So I'm tired of this, man. Everybody is the same, Lions this, they're terrible. No. We got Dan Campbell at the helm, man. We're going to bite a kneecap off. My guys are picking Pat Mahomes' ligaments out of their teeth this week, man. We got a lot of stuff to clean up, but we did. The defense held them, man. Praino. I'm tired of this shit. You never eat your crow. Eat some crow, Praino. I want to hear it. Campbell out. You'll hear from me periodically, especially when Praino's wrong, man.
So what do you think about that, Praino?
Let me ask you a question about this Lions-Chiefs game. Let me preface it by saying, in the NFL, winning games is hard. In the NFL, week 1s are wild. In the NFL, going on the road to Arrowhead and getting a win if the fucking Powerpuff Girls suited up is a tough thing to do. So in a division where we really, a lot of people have been saying, a lot of people are on the Lions bandwagon. Vikings fans are obviously still on their bandwagon. The Bears think that they have the MVP in Justin Fields. The Packers, a lot of people think Packers are a sleeper team. In a division where I don't think anybody thinks the Lions are running away with it, every win counts. But in a game where the Chiefs dropped so many fucking passes, including one straight through the hands that went for a pick 6, that was the difference between going from driving to go up double digits to a tie football game. If you look at how If the Lions locker room has 1% of the delusion of Lions fans, does this win hurt them in the long run?
No, I don't think it does. I think it's a great win. I don't think it hurts them. I think
Lions fans, we just beat the Super Bowl champs. You don't get to play the underdog factor and play the we told you factor the whole time, right?
yeah,
We're going back to we're going to a Travis Kelce thing again.
Yeah.
You guys are hating us and we're telling you we're good.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in us. So then if you beat the Chiefs and then you demand everybody gives you respect, can you still play the nobody believes in us card the whole rest of the year?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think, and I know you've discussed this and I agree with you, and we this is a general discussion with coaches, and Lions fans aren't going to like this. There's a big error I would call of desperation with coaches in week one.
Huge.
These fourth down, you saw it in many games where you're like, by the way, and I'm a risk taker. We've all heard me say some wild things in their show. I'm not anti fourth down, going for it. But some of these things you're just like,
the risk reward of Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down on his own 17 in the first quarter of the game. The reward was
they scored in that drive to his credit.
Yeah. Yeah. But the reward is that at halftime of that game or whatever, you're in it. The risk was your season's over before it fucking starts because you have some weird desperation on your own 17. The Chiefs go in and score immediately after that. Your fucking season comes apart. Sean Payton, cool signature onside kick in the Super Bowl. Now you're doing cover songs of yourself.
I mean, the Sean Payton onside kick to start the game.
My point with the Campbell thing is hindsight's always fucking 2020.
Sure.
Oh, it set a tone. Okay. But what was the risk? The risk was what happened in the Broncos game where the team that was the sneaky playoff team, the resurgence of Russ, all the storylines in one play. Now you're just this weird, desperate team that doesn't think you can beat the fucking Raiders, and then you don't.
And you know what's crazy about that? If you watch that game, the Raiders score on that drive, and then they go the rest of the entire game without scoring a touchdown to the very end. So literally, that was the difference in that game. You gave a short field to your defense to start the game. They give it a touchdown. They play great the rest of the game, and they don't give a touchdown to the end, and that's the difference. And you lose by a point.
And the other thing for our Dan Campbell, if he wants to call back in next episode, if we're going to do the improved Lions defense thing, can you also be afraid to let your defense go on the field at the end of the game? This is the desperation that I've seen from some coaches. Reminds me of the Doug Peterson Eagles season, where every desperate play went his way and they won a Super Bowl. Great. You can't say that it didn't work out. But then the next 2 years later, when everything balances out and your desperate calls start going 50-50 again, you get them all right for a whole season and you get them all wrong for a whole season and you're fired a year and a half after winning the Super Bowl?
Yeah. And look, I think obviously the Lions are the pick to win that division. I picked the Packers, and like you said, that one guy on YouTube thought I was crazy. I just kind of went with the gut. There was nothing to base that off. And I think that's going to be a fun division. And also, there's a good chance the Lions win a playoff game because the NFC is so weak. But again, my thing with the Lions, nothing changes for me. Huge win. Dude, Jared Goff's your quarterback. You guys can ride with him all you want. I personally watched him in the Coliseum a lot of games. He's not winning you a Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now. Not only is he not winning you a Super Bowl, he's not getting you to a Super Bowl. Unless his head coach is Sean McVay.
Now, like, I sent a message to our boy Charlie Ryan, who I deemed in the message I sent him our resident analytics guy / insane coaching decision defender. But like, it was happening all over the league. And I feel like a guy like Bill Belichick gets away. When Bill Belichick does something, people start going like, oh, Bill Belichick did it, so he must know something I don't know. He gets that thing now. Why with 9 minutes left to go in the game did the Patriots not kick a field goal to cut an 8-point game to 5? So that if they give the ball back and the other team goes down and gets a field goal, it's still a 1-possession game. Yeah. Instead, you give them a short field, they drive down, they do get a Super Bowl, even though you get a stop that had you kicked, they probably don't get any points. But you get a stop, they get a field goal. Now it's an 11-point game. And they lose.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of questionable calls.
Because late in that game, they weren't playing an offense that was, we need to score once. They were playing an offense that's, we need to score twice because they're down 11 with 9 minutes left to go in the game. The desperation that's out there seems very, like, it just seems like it's I don't believe in teams that play like that.
Well, it's definitely permeating throughout the NFL. And maybe it's just a change of times. But again, these games, as we know, and as the coaches should know, of all people, they just ebb and flow. It's momentum. And it changes on a dime. You could be up 2 touchdowns and it changes on a dime. Somebody gets a pick 6. Oh my God, the momentum's changed. It is crazy to see all these plays. I do want to play another call about the Chiefs. And I feel like this happens every year. The Chiefs have a game they should have won. Last year was week 2. They get blown out against the lowly Colts. This year it's week 1. They lose. We already got a call basically saying they're sus.
Hello, Dirty Sports. Joe Andy. It's Braden here, Minnesota DirtBall. I'm just calling in to say right now.
Sorry, it's a little low. I don't see this new system. Let me see if I can turn this up. I don't know if I can. Can you hear this?
Not right now.
I know, but when I was playing
I heard it before, yeah.
Okay.
Chiefs are suspect as fuck. You got 2 players out. You can't beat the Lions. The Lions didn't magically become a Super Bowl team in one season. I think it's pretty telling. I don't know how you can be out 1 tight end and 1 defenseman and be completely flat. You can't do anything on offense. Your defense is okay at best. You got Patrick Mahomes. Okay, great. Well, no one on the team can catch a ball. He can't go to his one person he likes to throw to. They seem suspect. I don't know how you can have faith in a team if they can't show up without 2 players. That's just kind of wild. Condoms are for Chris Collinsworth, because if I have to hear that fucker bounce on Patrick Mahomes' dick any longer, I'm going to lose it, man. It's insane. Peace out.
Well, I think he answered his own question.
Well, so many points that he made for himself, for us via himself. So the Lions are a super offense, and the Chiefs couldn't stop anybody without their best defensive player and a guy who's arguably in contention for defensive player of the year last year, even though they held them to 21 points, including 7 that came on a dropped pick 6. So at some point, NFL fandom has to so the Lions offense isn't good, or the Chiefs defense played okay. Does anybody want to make a decision on this? By the way, I bet the under, the one big bet I actually hit this weekend. Lions, Chiefs under. 2 obvious over teams. Couldn't have been more clear. No more obvious overplay. So obviously you go reverse and you play the under. They scored 21 points.
And 7 of them were pick 6.
Through a guy's hands.
Yeah. I mean,
so did the Chiefs defense play okay? Is the Chiefs defense pretty good? I've been told this Lions offense with all their new weapons, Jared Goff, he hasn't thrown a pick because they don't let him throw balls to guys who are covered in I don't know how many weeks. So the Lions offense, listen, at this point, I'm kind of at like I'll take my wins against these delusional fan bases where I can get them. The Lions offense isn't legendary, or the Chiefs defense played pretty good. You guys pick the lane. Also, we just went through this with Tyreek Hill. Every team now is sus because quarterbacks are taking up to 25% of your salary cap. The days of 3 receiver trios and a tight end that are all good.
This isn't the Cowboys of the 90s.
It's over, man. You can't pay these people.
Yeah.
So you decide we have a quarterback we're going to give $250 million or $500 million. And we're going to have to make the decision not to give him weapons. And then we're going to let him keep the one weapon. And then if that weapon gets hurt, you're going to be like, they're sus. So next year, when the Bengals trade T. Higgins because they can't pay him, and Jamar Chase is out for 2 weeks with a fucking shoulder injury, Joe Burrow sus because he's throwing it to the white kid.
And again, it's week 1. Here's a little history for you. Because I know people see the Chiefs lose at home to the Lions, which again, the Lions are the Vegas favorites to win that division. So it's not like they lost to a terrible team. The Patriots were coming off a Super Bowl in 2016.
I'd argue that the Chiefs, without Jones and without Kelsey, were literally Kadarius Toney having one of the worst games the receivers had in the history of the NFL.
It was bad.
Away from just sneaking out of week 1 with a home field win.
I agree. I
think no one's like everybody's acting like.
I know. Well, what I was going to say was 2016, the Patriots win the Super Bowl. They opened 2017 against the Chiefs. I don't know if you remember that. Against Alex.
Yeah.
Chiefs just murder the Patriots at home. Just murder them. 42-27. And that's a misleading score. They put up 42 on a Belichick defense in Foxborough the night they got their rings from the previous Super Bowl against the Falcons. Guess what happened that year? Patriots started 2-2. They made the Super Bowl. They lost against the Eagles. My point is, like, anybody calling the Chiefs sus, I'm just not buying it. Who are they sus against?
But this is the way the league is built now. The league is built now where like 3 or 4 players on your whole team are getting paid. You have your quarterback, your best tackle, somebody on your defensive line or edge rusher, one weapon on offense, possibly a defensive back if you have one of like 6 guys in the league who are quote unquote shut down defensive backs.
Yeah.
So if you're the Chiefs and 50% of the guys that you actually pay a living wage to play in the NFL are out. Yeah, of course you're sus. That's the deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, but even them, like I don't know what sus means. Does it mean suspect in maybe in certain games? But like, if you're talking season, the overall theme, the Chiefs aren't sus, guys.
And guess what? If the Chiefs play a playoff game without Travis Kelce, they're sus.
For sure.
Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Now name a team that's not sus with one of the 3 guys they pay on the team out. The Niners? Are the Niners sus if they don't have McCaffrey?
Hell of a game by him yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
And Purdy looked good too. Your boy Pickett looked bad.
I'm still on the Pickett train.
You're on the Pickett train.
And I'll tell you why. This will be a great transition into my talking about my actual team. There's two different. This is something this is a Joe Praino theory that's been going back 15, 20 years at this point. A lot of teams can look good on the scripted opening drive that they've practiced every preseason practice for a month. And after that, if you look dog shit, I think that's very telling about your team. This is something that used to happen with the Giants against the Donovan McNabb Eagles forever. The Donovan McNabb Eagles would come out and just be like, that's the best drive I've ever seen in the history of professional football. They just waxed us. And I'd always go, that's their scripted drive. Let's see when things get a little bit shaky. The Giants looked great on their fucking scripted drive until a guy goes off sides. They get a bad snap, block field goal, game over.
Had me fooled. Yeah, I was feeling good about that pick.
They're coming out in the full house backfield. They're doing all this thing. Oh, the scripted drive. And I said that to my buddy. I said, this is the scripted drive. And then when the scripted drive ended with 7 points for the Cowboys, I was like, we are fucked. The Pittsburgh Steelers got waxed by the Niners. The Niners are the best team in the NFC right now. Like I know it's a week one overreaction or whatever, but like Brock Purdy not getting able to play, coming out looking as sharp as he did, McCaffrey looking like how he played, Kittle being healthy, their defense still being their defense, going into Pittsburgh, knocking around the fucking Steelers. But it's the reverse. Kenny Pickett, they just got their asses handed to them early by a better team. But then the way he actually like started putting it together later in the game, I was like, okay, this is the reverse of the only good for one scripted drive. I like a quarterback that's going to get beat up and still try to figure it out. Because then to me, it shows like, if you can show me that kind of growth in one game against a team that's just beating the shit out of you over the course of the season,
yeah,
you're going to continue to grow. Whereas the Giants, I think Dable is our coach for a while. But the other thing is, dude, like, you have to be able to adjust. You like it's the curse of the scripted drive.
Well, Joe, I'll be honest, not just that. I mean, your quarterback didn't look good, and on top of that, dude, they're doing scripted runs for him down 3 touchdowns.
No doubt about that.
Like, what is that?
There's two different things here. The dude got hit 50 times.
No, for sure.
So the quarterback not looking good, quote unquote, is like kind of like, I'm neither here nor there on that. He had 2 picks.
But those can both exist, right? Like Burrow got hit a million times yesterday. He also didn't look good.
Right.
Can't they both exist?
Yeah. Right. But when you get hit to a certain extent, it's like, what are, I mean, I've never, like, in the entire history of a Giants fan, I've never seen a quarterback with less time to throw. And that's saying something. He threw a pick 6 that was a completed pass that gets hit and comes out. Again, we just said it with Mahomes. I'm not saying Daniel Jones played well. Not at all.
Okay.
But I'm saying the 2 picks, he didn't really have 2 picks. He had 1 pick. That 1 pick was terrible. The running the quarterback, if you need to run the ball to win, if you need to run the ball with your quarterback just to get first downs, there's 2 different things. If you need to run your quarterback to win games, you're not a Super Bowl contender. If you need to run your quarterback just to move the chains, you're not a fucking playoff contender.
They were doing that.
100% agree. Now the Giants have when you look forward for the Giants have a pretty tough schedule out of the gate, although they do have Arizona next week. Then you go to San Francisco. You can put an L on the schedule for the Giants in San Francisco on a Thursday short week right now. You need to beat the shit out of Arizona. If the Giants win against Arizona the way Washington won against Arizona today, I will just go, season over. I don't care if you sneak out of there. Lions fans are going to hate to hear this. A win's not just a win. If the Giants win 21-20 in Arizona, the season's over. You're 1-1. I don't care. Season's over. If you don't go play a team that is trying to tank and beat them and put yourself in a position where even if you get your ass beat by the 49ers on a Thursday night, that you're 1-2.
So conversely, Cowboys looked very good defensively. I picked them to finish last in the division. It was a bold pick. It's like they heard me and said, fuck you, Ruther. Dak didn't have to do much. I mean, threw for like $143. What are we going to get with the Cowboys this year? I never know, because last year they were so hot and cold. They looked great this game. They looked great last year against your Giants both times.
Yeah. Although even those games, like the Thanksgiving Day game, I was there. That was a deceiving win even for the Cowboys. Like you look at that game early on in the game last night, I was like, ooh, this could be like the Thanksgiving game. Like if you go to the Thanksgiving game, I think it was like scoreless into the second quarter or something like that. There was a fourth down stop. We got them on. The Cowboys have great playmakers on defense. Okay.
Yeah, they really do.
That being said, Cowboys fans, get ready to fucking tell me add you guys to the 31 fan bases whose teams I hate. You're actually right. I actually do hate the Cowboys. But I've been saying this about this guy for as long as we've been doing this podcast and 5 years before. Mike McCarthy's calling your plays. Okay. I guess let's see what happens.
So let's see if I can pull it up. I saw it somewhere. Saw the maybe it was the Athletic article, but it listed guys who called plays yesterday. New play callers, right? So McCarthy in Dallas, O'Brien in New England, Eric Bieniemy in Washington. New play callers for teams did not have a good day yesterday. Statistically, it just wasn't good. And I think that's probably what we saw. I said it was an ugly day of football. And a lot of these new play callers, it didn't look good. But again, that wasn't the backbone of the Cowboys last year, right? It was their defense, as we know.
But again, I guess the question always goes to, what do you want? If you listen to this podcast, or if you watch ESPN, if you're watching the NFL Network, if you're reading The Athletic, what's the end game here on pontificating? You want me to tell you the Cowboys' exact record? I don't fucking know. But I'll say this. As great a game as that was all around, just like an absolute thrashing, I think you can walk away with it as a Giants fan and be like, yo, what the fuck? But as a Cowboys fan, are you walking away from it going like, we're an elite team?
I mean, they won 40-0.
What did they beat? What did they beat the Vikings? What did they beat the 13-3 Vikings last year? 46-7 or something like that?
Well, I think that's a tough question to ask, to be fair, because you had a special teams touchdown, you had a defensive touchdown. Again, the offense didn't have to do anything. That game was over. I mean, let me put it this way, Joe, that game is 0-0, right?
Let me ask you a question, Andy, right now. Do the Chiefs make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Do the Bengals make the playoffs?
I'm leaning towards yes.
Okay. So is it, if you're a Cowboys fan, why, like, we have two teams that took L's. You still think they're making the playoffs here? There's no concerns here. But it's week one for a different team. Like to me, it's always like
no. All I'm saying
people
is
pick and choose how to overreact to week one.
Yeah. No, all I'm saying is this with the Cowboys, and again, if their defense plays how it can, we don't know yet because they didn't have to. That's all I'm saying. Offensively, like to put it in context, the game was 0-0. The Giants were driving. I went upstairs. Isla was struggling to sleep, and Brittany's like, "Can you take over and rock her?" I literally was in her room for 15 minutes rocking her to get her to sleep. I came down. It was 16-0. And I literally said to Brittany's on her phone, on the couch, I said, "What happened?" The Giants were driving to score. And she said, she's like, "I don't know, some sort of touchdown." I'm like, "Well, there was 2. Something happened." But my point is like, it happened that quickly. And as you know, watching it, the game was over. I'll just say it by the second quarter. My point is the offense didn't have to try.
I know.
So we don't know yet is all I'm saying.
And I think the thing is like, you almost have to, when people do the week one overreaction, can you overreact on both sides? Like, to me, a very impressive game by the Niners yesterday. To me, the Niners are like, I was like, holy shit, the Niners might be the best team in football.
I agree. I was very impressed.
So then if you're doing that and it's a week one game and you think, wow, they're just so complete, can you also think that the Steelers are bad? Like, to me, I was like, I just don't think that you can overreact on both sides.
Yeah, that's a fair thing.
So the Giants should tank and should try to get the first overall pick and get Caleb Williams and eat Daniel Jones money. And the Cowboys have the best defense in football and are now the best team in the NFC. It's like, at some point when it comes to week ones, the overreaction, like, if I said told you so about the Minnesota Vikings, right? Which I will say every week for eternity. I'm also not on Bucks are sneaky good. Like, I'm not on it.
Yeah.
I'm not on Bucks are sneaky good. I'm not in resurgent Baker Mayfield.
Who outplayed Kirk Cousins, by the way.
Yeah.
I was okay. So if we take away week one surprises, that's one of my major surprises. That I thought it'd be a game that they lose. My big week one surprises are these: the Rams game, Rams Seahawks, just a blowout in Seattle. That's a huge surprise for me. Like you said, totally surprised on the Niners Steelers game. There was a good chance I was going to take the Steelers to win that game. Those were big surprises for me. And the Giants, Cowboys was a big surprise. And then lastly, how easily the Packers just blew the shit out of the Bears in Soldier Field, man. Good, great game, whatever you want to call it. Good to great game. Not Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. I mean, there were some big surprises.
Yeah, that one was one of the lesser surprises to me, just
really?
because
I mean, it was a blowout rivalry game. Jordan Love's quote unquote like first, QB1 as the QB1, not playing when Rodgers is injured. Justin Fields, your boy.
I think in week one, I think it's really about one. Like, you can't. I don't think you can fairly judge both teams and say like, oh, both these teams showed us something. And maybe the example that would break that is I feel like the Titans Saints game, which I know you didn't watch, but like both those teams, I was like, ooh, both these teams might play some D this year.
Yeah.
Now, Tannehill threw 3 picks. There's definitely a quarterback question mark in Tennessee. I think they've been trying to figure it out. I think they got the best that they could get. The Tannehill window probably closed. They probably overpaid him when they did. Like, blah, 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 blah. But they both played some D. Derek Carr had some bad throws. Derek Carr also had some great throws. Won them that game in the end. But when I look at the Packers-Bears game, again, despite Bears fans, again, take a shit on the fans. Every fan base goes into the season thinking they can win the fucking Super Bowl. There's been no evidence that you're good or that your quarterback's good. None.
He's a good running back.
He's a good running back. Last year, he threw, I think, 170 passes or something like that. Tua's going to throw 170 passes by week 4. There's been no sign.
192, but yeah.
Listen.
Or no. No, you said 170 passes? No. He completed 192. He threw 318 last year.
Okay.
Just to be fair.
There's no sign. Listen, when I come into the year and I say the Giants might finish in second place in the division, people come at me and say, you fucking homer. Imagine if I said Daniel Jones MVP. Daniel Jones had a winning season last year and won a playoff game against the team in the NFC North. Imagine our Reddit if I called Daniel Jones my pick for MVP. Dude, that's Bears fans with Justin Fields 2 times 1,000,000 because Justin Fields hasn't fucking won anything.
Yeah, I didn't see much of that. I didn't really fully get any sort of Bears hype, Justin Fields hype. And to me, I really believe in, and you've talked about it a lot with the Jets, like a franchise history matters, guys. Like the juju in the room and the energy, like I believe in that. And I believe it's real. Like you need sustained success, in my opinion, to kind of get rid of that stink. And the truth is the Bears kind of still have that stink, like my point is that we've said it. When have the Bears had good offenses? When have the Bears had good quarterbacks? Jay Cutler was your best quarterback. You didn't win anything. He refused to play in the NFC Championship. Like the Bears have a pretty bad history.
And it seems like every couple years, somebody gets a bug, and I don't know if some fucking Chicago beat writer or something put something out there, but you guys just literally end up in fantasy land. Nagy, offensive genius. Where did that come from? Justin Fields, MVP. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I don't know. I think people just create narratives to fit their agenda, right? Or what they want or what they hope for their team. And you said it best. I mean, it is true. It's crazy. We talk about it. Kind of the overriding theme to me is the delusion of NFL fans. Fans are walking into every season. And also, that's why we love the NFL so much. I don't know about you. I have a different feeling the first week of NFL. I have a different feeling on Sunday. I was in a great mood yesterday, all day. All day. I had games on. It puts me in a good mood, and it also helps that we all know I don't have like one diehard rooting interest. So I'm just like, I want to enjoy these games, enjoy a sport I love. But I think that energy that it brings with us in the NFL, it creates this delusion of, I think my team has a chance. And you said it best. It doesn't mean the Bucks are going to be legit because they beat the Vikings in Minnesota. It just means maybe the Vikings aren't that good and Kirk Cousins isn't that good. That's definitely not a game that you lose if you're a legit team. Not against Baker Mayfield. And we seem to agree. My big takeaway, I think, definitely was the Niners.
To go to Pittsburgh.
It's not easy.
So sharp.
Yeah. And we all know how tough that crowd is. Pittsburgh has great fans, loyal, diehard fans. And just to use an old Joe Praino term, boat race the shit out of them. Both sides of the ball. It's got to get you excited, right? By the way, I got a DM from our boy Mata who is doing the picks again. So shout out to Beverly Mata made it. What was your old thing you'd say?
Beverly Mata made it.
Yeah, that was it. But you know how he goes, you and Praino were like, how's New York? How's MetLife getting back-to-back games? Sunday and Monday Night Football. He's like, dude, it's obvious. It's 9/11.
Right.
They're just, how they milk it last night.
Yeah.
And they're going to milk it again tonight, obviously, with it being 9/11. They will never let you forget. I saw a great meme yesterday. It was like, this is probably an old one. It was like, never forget. And it had the 2 towers. And then it had Tower 7. And then above that, it said, but always forget.
Yeah. I tweeted this morning that, the Giants were honoring 9/11 by having New Yorkers wake up today and be like, wait, what the fuck happened?
That's funny. You got who do you have next week? Who do the Giants have?
Arizona, at Arizona.
Yeah, I agree. You got to win that game.
But you got to be like, everything's fine. It's got to be an everything's fine game.
Well,
right?
It's got to be you're in command from first to last whistle.
Yeah.
You don't have to win by 3 touchdowns, but it's like you win by 10 points, but you were in command all game. There was never a doubt.
100%. A late touchdown to pull away like the Commanders did against them, and I'm like, season's over.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes in the NFL.
I know. It's pretty nuts, man. But it was a like I said, kind of one of those first weeks where you're like, there's not much excitement. Minus that Finns Chargers game, man. Like, you talk about an exciting offensive explosion from both teams. Tua had a hell of a game. Tyreek Hill had a hell of a game. And I'm just going to go back to Brandon Staley again. Guys, you were the defensive guy. Now, maybe it had nothing to do with him because let's not forget, he was the defensive coordinator for the Rams who were stacked at the time.
Right.
So maybe Brandon Staley just knows nothing about defense, but you're doing this at home. I know there's not a big home field advantage for the Chargers in LA, but my point stands. You're not doing any favors for Justin Herbert.
Fire Staley immediately, hire Deion Sanders. Congratulations, I fixed the Chargers.
Ooh, I just read a piece today about when will Deion or can Deion eventually make the transition to the
I actually
NFL?
don't think so, and I don't think he should, ever.
And by the way, he's on record saying he doesn't think his, I don't know if it's mantra or just how he's on record himself saying that recently, saying, I don't think my shtick works in the NFL.
I just don't think the shtick, he is John Calipari, like I said, with a gold jacket, with Super Bowl rings, with his own sneaker, with being a poster, with dancing. Like, he's just in the modern age, in the player empowerment era, in the you can't Bobby Knight me anymore era. He's just going to be a recruiting phenomenon. But I don't actually think he could ever coach in the NFL. I actually don't. I think it would be like John Calipari in the NBA. I think it would be Rick Pitino in the NBA.
So you added on our rundown. This is what Praino put.
This is 100%. This is inarguable.
You said Deion Sanders is legit the best thing to happen to college football in my entire lifetime. Explain.
I've watched more college football snaps in 2 weeks. Regular season, because I always watch the playoff game and stuff like that. Regular season college football snaps, non-Notre Dame games that I've watched in 10 years. Name a bigger earthquake to hit college football. Name a bigger change. People always talk about Steph Curry changed the NBA. Michael Jordan. Name something that like, what's the next biggest thing that's happened in college football before this?
I remember during those USC days, dude, I'm living in Missouri going to school. To me, that was like must-see TV. I was like, I want to see
Bush Leinart,
all those studs on both sides of the ball. Like that was for me. Again, I have no affiliation.
Dude, that took weeks, months, maybe even call it a full season. We're 2 weeks into this.
No, to be fair to you, I agree. I agree in the fact that,
this will send shockwaves throughout college football for the next few decades.
The reason I agree is because I did the same thing. Saturday, I pulled up the TV and I had Isla again because Brittany was working all weekend. And it was the same thing. Like we're playing and all her little kid toys. And I remember I go, "Ooh, Colorado's on?" I didn't even look what the other games were. And I watched a quarter of it. I said, I want to see what's going on here. Because I'm curious what's going on with Colorado just because of Deion. It is fascinating.
The Michigan State coach got suspended or fired or whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Which, by the way, is wild. He's being accused of sexually harassing somebody who gave a talk to his players about sexual harassment.
Right.
Bro.
But the reason I bring that up is kind of who gives a fuck. I don't care enough about college football to even give a fuck. Sorry it happened.
Yeah. No,
TLDR. Congratulations or sorry it happened to you. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But if you look at what Deion's done in a fucking matter of weeks in college football, if you're Michigan State, do you hire Chad Ochocinco today? You're like, oh, we're constantly competing with Ohio State and fucking Michigan in trying to get recruits to come here. Do you just get Chad Ochocinco today? And just start offering NIL money over Twitch while you play FIFA against high school athletes? It will change college. It's already changing college football.
Because he's won his first 2 games too.
Because he's fucking doing it he's essentially doing what Kentucky or Duke did in basketball. They're like, who gives a fuck what you win? Aren't you trying to go to the NBA? So come here for a year or 2 or whatever. I play golf and bang hookers in restaurant bathrooms with the guys from Nike. Aren't you just trying to get sponsored by Nike? Isn't that all you want in life?
Well, I'll be curious how it plays out. They have a easy one again this week against
Colorado. They won 1 game last year.
No, I know. And I'm just saying, you got Oregon and USC back to back at the end of the month. So
we do this all the time in college football. Think about all the coaches that have come and gone in Nebraska. Nebraska is one of those programs they've been trying to fucking get you to buy into forever. Oh, it's going to be Scott Frost, and it's going to be this guy, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be this guy. He's changing Nebraska. Get ready. Dude, if you're Nebraska, hire Larry the Cable Guy. What are you doing?
Get her done.
The fucking Deion Sanders has been in Colorado for 2 weeks. They leapfrogged what Nebraska has been trying to do for 30 years since Tommy Frazier's last game in there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Deion's put together a great staff. Deion, like I said, Deion's really smart. He's got former head coaches of both college and the NFL. Like Pat Shurmur's one of his offensive coordinators, I think. My point is he's hiring guys who've legit coached to be assistants, and he's getting them on board. He's a smart CEO, for lack of a better term. He's like, look, you know how to run offenses. You know how to run defenses. I'm just going to be the face.
Andy, you're a wide receiver in the NFL. All right. You're coming up on free agency. You're a wide receiver in the NFL. Cap, the salary cap is not a thing. Where do you want to play? You get one choice. No list.
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, okay. Good. Good talk. Deion Sanders doesn't have a fucking salary cap. He's going to be that guy. This is the biggest thing that's happened in college football in my entire lifetime. What's the other answer? Just slide in our fucking DMs, get in the YouTube comments. What's the next biggest? What is even in competition with this?
Give us a call, 310-359-8365. I think this would be a great discussion. What has made a bigger splash / would be more transformational to college football / college athletics?
Run pass options? Like, I don't fucking, like, what are we talking about?
I mean, that was pretty big. Those offenses, I don't know if that was Urban Meyer, but I think about them a lot with those Florida squads. But he's also piggybacking on the transfer portal, which has changed college athletics. Do you know what I'm saying?
But this is what I'm saying.
Like, they go hand in hand.
Nothing. Like, he stepped in the time of transfer portals and NIL deals.
Yeah, it's pretty ideal.
And was like, here's how you win. Be a guy people want to play for today.
Yeah, I'd love to play for Deion. And he gives great speeches, and he's smart, and he's a great talker. Like I said, he's almost got like that church preacher speech vibe when he gives pep talks.
Now, I probably will not watch a lot of other college football. Like, I still don't care. But when you talk about, like, the interest level, none of that shit drew me to fucking college football. I didn't give a fuck about the Florida Gators with Tebow. Yeah, the liner fucking things were great. The Vince Young USC game, sure. But it's like, because it's on. Because, whatever. I wasn't sitting around on a Saturday like, guess I should see what's going on. On Saturday, I woke up, I was like, I wonder if Deion's game's even on. I was like, I don't know enough about college football to even know, like, is he going to necessarily be televised every week?
They had, not only was it on, it was they went to Colorado.
For game day?
It was either game day. I don't watch enough. It was either game day or Fox's version of game day, which obviously isn't nearly as big, but whatever. You're bringing Liner, Reggie Bush, Urban Meyer. You're bringing fucking huge names. It was one of those, which was crazy. And did you see what Deion said? Did you see what he said?
What, he slept in his office?
No, but did you see what he said as far as, like, he's not surprised?
I didn't see that.
Well, I guess it was the Fox crew. His point was, I think that, the Fox crew was there. Am I losing my mind? They're actually going to be in game day this week. ESPN's game day.
Is Colorado?
Colorado will host ESPN's college game day.
This is Linsanity.
It is ahead of for the Colorado State game. Not exactly a big game.
God, the racial slurs that SEC fans must be screaming into their TVs with Nick Saban losing to Texas and Deion getting all the college football attention.
Well, to be fair, Joe, I think they scream those slurs in their TV every time a non-white dude makes a bad play. So it's par for course. He really is overtaken. That is insane that he's already getting. By the way, can we talk about how, like, when does Kirk Herbstreit sleep? Because, like, he's doing college game day. So his son, right, goes to my high school. His son is a junior. He goes to the games. So like we were talking about this the other day, we were at the game. We're like, so Herb Street's here. It's a Friday night game. Game ends at like 9:30. It's Cincinnati, man. It's not a big city.
Maybe he's cloned.
Yeah,
maybe Cincinnati is home base for the cloning treatment. They're just pumping out Herb Streets and DeMar Hamlins, and
it could be because I'm saying.
Although DeMar Hamlin's clone's not even healthy enough to play this week, apparently. I don't know if you heard that.
I saw he's not playing tonight.
Yeah.
But what I was about to say is, so he's hopping on a flight after his boy's a junior quarterback. He's hopping on a flight after the game Friday, flying to wherever for college game day, early Saturday. Then from college game day, he's got to go fly wherever they're calling the game. And then he's doing Thursday night game football. Like, it's a lot of bouncing around, especially just in that 24-hour period. Like ESPN's footing the bill on a private jet, right?
I have no idea. Yeah.
They have to be.
Sure.
My point is, there's not a commercial flight going out of Cincinnati Friday night, and he's watching his son, and then he's going to wherever, Tuscaloosa the next morning. There's no flight from Cincinnati at 10, 11 p.m., whatever it is, going from Cincinnati to Tuscaloosa. It's just not happening. I don't know. It's wild to me. Like these guys just don't stop. Did you see the video of Urban Meyer being creepy again on that girl?
No.
I wish I had it pulled up. They caught him week 1. He's the camera.
Where is Urban Meyer right now?
He does the Fox version of College Game Day.
How?
What do you mean how?
Who hosts it with him? Crystal Leah? Like, what are we doing here?
So I'm saying he does it with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. I don't know who the Fox host is.
This is why college football is a fucking all will and all. Like, there's no one else who could do that. Why does Urban Meyer have a job?
Because he's a name and we're talking about him.
Well, I didn't even know he fucking existed. I just assumed he was like living in Ohio area, Buffalo Wild Wings, just trying to finger blast girls on the way to the bathroom. I didn't think people were giving him a career still.
I can't. It's gonna be. This one's too hard to pull up. But anyway, it's a split second. I wish I had it. And the cameras for Fox, you have like the desk. Again, I don't know who all was involved, but it's like Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, whoever the host is, and then it pans for a second past the desk to the side, like off the set, and he's posted up on some like young co-ed during a commercial break or something. Totally creeping, and then it just like pans away real quickly. It's obviously what's going on, and I have some intel, by the way, on that whole thing. I just found out I have some intel on that girl. I don't want to reveal her. I mean, her name is public.
The girl from the bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got a porn star name. I don't want to say her name.
Okay.
You can look it up just because I think that's I don't want to go down that to her, but it's a total porn star name. It's a real name. Apparently, that wasn't like a one-time thing. That was his side piece. So everybody got it wrong. I just learned this weekend. Like everybody's like, oh, he's creeping on this girl. No, that was a girl he had been hooking up with like early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, whatever it is, for a while, just for the record. I have I'll tell you off air, some basically 100% verified sources. So that wasn't like a thing. That's why he left the Jags team plane when they flew back from the Bengals Thursday night game. It's like he was going up for his girl.
Yeah.
His what do you guys call it in the Italian world, the mob world? Guma?
Yeah.
Is that what the gangsters call it?
Yeah.
So anyway, it is amazing though. Like you're right. Like just completely unscathed, just right back on national TV. I've heard from multiple people that doc is the biggest fluff piece ever.
Yeah. Well, I just saw somebody break down, like they didn't talk about fucking Cam Newton. They didn't talk about Riley Cooper. They didn't talk about I was like, oh, they didn't talk about the Pouncey twins. I was like, what did you guys talk about?
One of my brothers watched it, and he thought I would have known. He goes, "Was Urban Meyer producer?" I go, "Why?" He goes, "Dude, he's in the whole thing. It just makes everything look like, oh, it's all hunky dory with Urban. There's no, they're not discussing him going to Bristol, Connecticut, and basically telling the principal, you're going to graduate Aaron Hernandez early so he can do spring practice. And the principal is saying, dude, I don't think he's going to graduate at all. And the guy's like, no, you're going to graduate him a semester early. And stuff like that we know that Urban Meyer showed up multiple times to basically bully a high school principal. Anyway, one last thing and we'll get out of here. You wanted to discuss AFC and NFC South. Why have they always been so bad? 20 years since 2002. The inception of those divisions.
Well, I was just thinking about this yesterday as I went around, as I watched all the games. It's kind of just been always mediocre, like aggressively mediocre. Even when you have like a one team standout, like obviously the Colts were really good for when they had Peyton Manning and when they had Andrew Luck. But you have your Cinderella kind of Jags team that went to the AFC Championship game. You have a Saints team that won a Super Bowl, but was honestly, and this is why I've always said everybody needs to tap the brakes on the Sean Payton love, but was not there every year. For all the years they had Drew Brees and all the years they had some mediocre teams,
under 500 teams.
You had a couple years where teams from those divisions made the playoffs under 500.
Yeah.
There was the year the fucking Panthers made it 7-9 or something like that.
They did.
My question is, why? I mean, if you looked across the conferences and you said, oh, the AFC South is always bad and the NFC West is always bad, you would be like, okay, there's no correlation here. But the AFC West and the NFC West, both kind of historically mediocre for as long as they've existed.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So you're basically saying it is crazy. And I've always thought this. The AFC and NFC South have basically, and I would love to see some data to back it, the worst divisions.
The consistently most mediocre, even when you're talking about if you have a good team there, then they're the only good team. I'd love to see the years where 2 AFC South or NFC South teams made the playoffs. That's got to be the lowest number of in both conferences. Now, I brought up to you before, they both have expansion teams in Jags and Panthers, but that's from the late 90s. We're going 30 years.
Dude, not even
mid 90s. Yeah.
Mid 90s. About 30 years.
You have the Texans who are a more recent expansion team. Okay.
Also,
but my question, I guess, is this related to college football greatness in those areas? Is there a link between the SEC being the dominant football conference since the turn of the millennium and both divisions in the NFL in that area being bad? Has anybody ever done a scientific study on this?
It'd be interesting.
That's the best I can come up with. Is it if you're a great football mind in those areas, if you come up through high school and you're do you just get snatched up by a SEC program? What's the reasoning behind it? Think about it this way. When you talk about franchises, you hear about the Bill Belichick's of the world that they just showed up one day and they were like, I want to work for the fucking Giants. And Bill Parcells is like, do you know anything about football? He's like, no, and I'm a fast learner. And he's like, okay, here. And the next thing you know, through an organization he builds, and now there's this coach of do those guys just show up at Alabama wanting to do that? they show up at Florida wanting to do that? Like, what is the reason? That's the best working theory I have. SEC, so good at college football. Essentially, the SEC equivalent in the NFL. Easily the most mediocre divisions in both conferences.
So, wow, and the numbers back it up. I just put in, this is going into the last Super Bowl. NFL divisions with Super Bowl titles. This is pretty fascinating. Guess who leads it? And this is across the conferences as well. The leaders are the NFC and AFC East.
Right. Because the Patriots.
So Patriots, so NFC East 13, AFC East 9. Then you have 3 tied for 8. You have the AFC West.
This is since when?
This is before the last Super Bowl.
No, but this is starting when? Not historically or forever in the Super Bowl era? No.
I don't know if they're including. I don't know.
It must be from when these conferences came out, because if you think about it, the Giants have 4 Super Bowls and the Cowboys have what? 6?
Yeah, and obviously
the Eagles have 1.
Let's
the
say
Skins have 2.
They're probably counting. Let's say the AFC North used to be the AFC Central.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah,
they're going to count that. But here's the breakdown. It is fascinating. NFC East 13, AFC East 9. Then you're stuck with a 3-way race at number 3. AFC West, AFC North, NFC West all have 8 Super Bowls. Then it's a big drop off. NFC North 5, and your bottom 2. NFC South 3, AFC South 2. It is crazy that it would add up that way. So they're by far the lowest at winning Super Bowls. Teams that have come from the AFC and NFC South. And traditionally, it hasn't been fun football to watch.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I wanted to bring it up, because you turn on the TV yesterday and you have all your games on and you're like, fuck Texans Ravens. That's not gonna be a fucking football game.
Fuck Carolina, Atlanta. Boring.
Yeah. Carolina, Atlanta. Who gives a shit?
Saints, Titans.
You didn't care.
I didn't care.
I was kind of keeping my eye on it.
Now, Jags Colts was fun. The Jags are going to be fun to watch offensively. They will, because of Trevor Lawrence, and they have a nice offense. They'll be fun to watch offensively.
The Colts maybe got their quarterback hurt at the end of the game running.
Dude, what are we doing? What are we doing? But you're right. And again, the numbers back it up. I mean, look, they've had some, like you said, they've had the Drew Brees, the Peyton Manning, the Michael Vick.
But when you look at that, Peyton Manning has as many Super Bowls in the AFC West as he does in the AFC South.
Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy. I know. Well, give us a ring. Let us know.
Drew Brees and Peyton Manning together have fucking 2 down there.
That's crazy.
They have as many titles for the AFC South and NFC South combined as fucking what? Eli Manning had for the Giants?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It is pretty crazy. If somebody has any intel,
Ben Roethlisberger has as many Super Bowls as Peyton Manning and Drew Brees combined during their time in the fucking South.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Derek Carr's like, I'm going to fucking show you this year, though. Jameis 1-of-1's like, that'll change soon. When they go to Jameis.
Well, let us know. We have lots of calls, guys, and for the record, I see all the calls. I appreciate it. Lots of calls.
Let's do some calls.
1
or 2?
Well, I had to load more.
Cool. Fuck it then. Free Pac-Man Jones.
And I don't even feel like talking about Pac-Man. I'll do one call.
Let's do one.
It's a non-football one.
Non-football. I can't believe we don't have so many. I can't believe that we don't have angry Lions fans. I guess we already heard from Dan Campbell.
Oh no, let's do a football one. We have a Chiefs comparison, and I can't wait for us to kind of pick this one apart.
Okay.
We have a Chiefs comp with a NBA team.
30 Sports. Watching the Chiefs game last night, I got a great comparison for the Chiefs. So when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I think of the Cavaliers. You got Patrick Mahomes is LeBron James because they're both the GOATs. Then you got Kelsey and Chris Jones. We'll say that Kelsey is Kyrie Irving and Chris Jones is Kevin Love. Then Kadarius Toney is fucking J.R. Smith. Because Patrick Mahomes is like LeBron James, fucking carrying his team all the way to win the game, despite their receivers being shitty. And Kadarius Toney literally blows the fucking game for him, just like J.R. Smith blew the Cavaliers in that game 1 against the Warriors. And after the game's over, despite Mahomes playing well, they're like, oh, you can't win without good receivers. Just the same thing as LeBron James in the NBA Finals. Oh, you can't win without a good team. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good comparison. Condoms are for Andy Ruther. Thank you for picking the Steelers 4th in the division. I actually love it because now that means we're going to win the division. The Ruther curse is real.
I bet you don't feel that way after week 1, brother. after that debacle. I think we can poke hole. Look, I appreciate the call. I think there's a lot of holes in this, to be honest. I mean, Travis Kelce's borderline greatest wide receiver. Whatever. He's the greatest tight end, arguably, statistically headed that direction of all time. Kyrie Irving's not close to that. Right.
But to pick a hole in your hole that you picked, Kyrie Irving looked pretty good when he was with LeBron James, and then all of a sudden he was like, I want out of here, and everybody was like, are you insane? Imagine if Travis Kelce was like, trade me to the fucking Cowboys. You'd be like, are you drunk, bro? You believe the earth is flat?
But Kelce was also having great years with Alex Smith.
Yeah.
I guess Irvin can't say he's had great years
for sure
on his own. But I also don't think people were saying that, right? Like Patrick Mahomes, he won a title. Like he won a title last year. Who's his best receiver? Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yeah. When you listen, I have been talking about this for years. The great quarterbacks, you make great receivers, but I'll tell you one thing, and Brady is a great example of this. Eli, Peyton, Drew Brees, those great quarterbacks we talked about, they would take these guys who you never heard of and they make them great. But one thing a lot of those guys had in common, the Wes Welkers, the Julian Edelmans, the Victor Cruzes, the Marcus Colstons, those guys who are out there, you better be a fundamentally sound player. You don't need Kadarius Toney. You need Wes Welker. You need a guy who's going to fucking catch the ball and lay down. You don't need a guy who's going to catch the ball and then backflip over somebody, because first you got to catch the ball. When you have a Patrick Mahomes, forget the fucking trying to find like crazy good athletes that you can get at low value and rejuvenate. Just get him a guy who can run the fucking pattern, catch the ball.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. Catch the fucking ball. That's all. It's like that was as a sports fan, as an NFL fan, that was difficult to watch. You're just like, dude, this is embarrassing. Catch the ball. You're a professional. It's like going to get your oil change and the guy just goes, I don't know how to pop the trunk. You're like, dude, this is literally what you do. Or or pop the hood, whatever. Listen to me. Clearly, I'm an idiot. Okay. 310-359-8365.
That would be great if you got, he's like, I don't know how to pop the trunk. Well, good news. You don't need to pop the trunk. My oil's not in the trunk. Kadarius Tony, you want to pop the hood. And he's like, all right. Pop the hood then. No wonder I've been having so much trouble. I keep checking the trunks.
Give us a shout, 310-359-8365. That's the hotline. Get those tickets, New Orleans, December 16th. Sounds like they're going fast, so get on it, Dirtball fam.
Buy your tickets. If you're coming solo, buy your tickets for a podcast. Buy your tickets for a show. It's going to cost you $10 more total. We'll keep you updated if more bundles become released. But get your tickets now. I'll be on the road for, I don't know, the next couple months, basically all of 2024. First stop, New York. I'll be doing some shows in New York. Get your eye on my calendar there. I'll be then going down to Key West, Comedy Key West, first week of October. I believe it's October 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th in Comedy Key West. Then I'll be at Giants Dolphins on the 8th. See if the Giants can do something about Tyreek Hill. Then we've got Vegas, end of October. I'll be in October at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. I'll be in Vegas at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, end of October into early November. Alaska, we're adding more dates. If you're a dirtball in Alaska, get in the DMs. I'll tell you, I might be coming to your town, even if it's not on my calendar yet. We've got a couple of other cities being added. And then, of course, New Orleans, December. Get your tickets to the show podcast now. They're available. We'll find out. I'll find out about releasing more limited edition bundles, but get your tickets before it's too late. Get your tickets to the stand-up show. And we'll see you down there for Giants at Saints.
Cool.
Follow us on all social media at Joe Praino on TikTok and Instagram, at The Dirty Sports on TikTok and Instagram. You know, throw us a like, throw us a repost, throw us a follow. Andy might have a shadow ban on all platforms. So if you don't already follow us, follow us.
I don't know what kind of juju I've put on the social media platforms. I don't know what's going on.
You didn't even talk shit on Taylor Swift.
No, I don't even it's like our boy Keenan messaged me. He's like, I wasn't even sure if you were on Twitter anymore. I was like, yeah, dude, I pop up here a few times, but like, what the fuck did I do to get Dirty Sports and my personal shadow ban? What did I do? Was it something that I posted of Isla? Like, wait, my daughter? I mean, shadow ban for that? Unbelievable.
And before we go, just remember, I don't hate your team, but I do hate your fans. Each and every one of you guys.
And for that, we're thankful.
Never forget. Guys. Never forget. Hashtag never forget. I hate your fan base.
Hashtag never forget. Well, if there's one thing we've learned this episode and throughout the years of the NFL seasons, all NFL fans are delusional. And again, for that, I'm thankful. It's good fodder for the show. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up here. Have a great week. We'll see you on Thursday. And as always, stay dirty.